Hi, I'm Pastor Daniel from the Promise Church of Houston. Today is our Music Monday. Every Monday we feature one of our musical worship artists who has written songs and singing for the glory of God. And joining me today is Sister Deanna San Miguel. She is one of our worship leaders here in our church. And every Sunday she takes it upon her as a gift from God to lead our congregation into a closer and deeper presence with the Lord. And not only is she a gifted worship leader, but she is also a gifted songwriter. And today she's going to be sharing a song that she wrote that you're going to hear for the very first time today on this broadcast. And I'm excited for you to get to hear it because it is a song of apostolic faith. It is a song that glorifies the one true God, Jesus Christ. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So this is your first church that you have been a part of.
Yes.
And you are now the worship leader here at our church, but how long has it been since you've been at our church?
I remember being very pregnant with my daughter, so it's been 9 years.
Awesome. Now, our viewers today that are going to watch this interview and see this anointed, bold, worship leader have no idea that the first time I met you, you were like one of the shyest persons I've ever met here at our church. Like, I didn't even hear your voice for the first 2 months that I knew you. You wouldn't say anything. You would come in very quiet, very to yourselves. And if I were to take myself back in time, 8, 9 years ago, and think to myself, one day this young lady is going to be the worship leader at the Promise Church, I would never think that. Not because you couldn't do it, because obviously you can, but because you came in so introverted and so shy. Did you ever think that you would be singing in public and leading worship?
Yeah, I was I don't know if I was so much shy, just kind of being careful. I'd been it gets personal. I was really hurt when I came to the church. So I was kind of put up a shield and tried to feel like I was protecting myself. But no, I still tell people now, I don't know how I can get up there in front of people and sing or, to lead the worship. I would have never thought that I could do anything like that.
So I'm not the only one then there.
No.
I think that's amazing for you to hear that, because maybe you feel like I could never do that. I could never get in front of people. And now you are in front of, 100 people, 200 people when we come to church sometimes. And there you are, just doing it, and people would not know that other side of you that came to this church. And I remember when I met Jacob, and he was telling me about you, he kind of warned me, Pastor, my wife is really shy, really quiet. Doesn't mean she doesn't like you. She's just kind of quiet. And now we've grown together, our families and our church and relationship, that I get to see this other side of you. And I'm so thankful to God for that. Seeing the way that God has used you in music, and your husband, your son, and even your young daughter, all of y'all seem musically gifted, musically inclined. Was music a part of your life? I mean, was playing music, singing, did you sing in the school choir in elementary? Were you the solo artist there? I mean, or is this something that's brand new, worshiping and singing for God? Tell us that story.
The only memories I have of singing was me and my sister, my oldest sister. She has a pretty good singing voice. We would be outside on the porch, and late at night we would just hang out at home, and she would start singing and I would just start singing with her. And that was, it wasn't even very often that we would do that, but I did enjoy it while we did it. I just felt like, I enjoy singing. It was something that I didn't know that I enjoyed doing until we did it. And other than that, I had never been, I never thought about singing or being interested in music. My grandfather, he played a guitar. So when we would go to his house, I would kind of, strum the guitar every now and then. And I always liked the sound of it, but we never had a guitar or anything like that. So never really had an interest in music too much, except that I loved music. Like, I love to hear music. I think music takes you different places, which is why I think we have to be really careful to the music we listen to, because it takes your mind to different places. So other than just loving to hear music, I never really had an interest in it.
So is this Rosalinda or Patricia that you're?
Rosalinda.
So you and Rosalinda are out there. How old are you when you're out there singing?
Maybe about 12 or 13 years old. It was in the 90s, because we were singing like 90s songs.
So like when you're like in middle school age,
Yeah,
around there.
yeah, probably middle school.
So there you are, out there just singing with your sister. And now God has you singing before the whole church. And now you'll be singing a song before the whole world. I mean, it's amazing to see where God takes us from. And something that to you was something that you enjoyed, that now God gives to you for others to enjoy. It's amazing how the Lord works. How long have you been on the worship team, and how long have you been worship leader here at the Promise Church?
I would say on the worship team maybe about 5 years, and worship leader maybe about 3 years.
So, was it easy for you to come to me and say, hey, Pastor, I want to be on the worship team? Had you been thinking about it for a long time, or was it something that you're like, I want to do this and I'm excited, hey, Pastor, put me on the worship team? How did that happen for you to go from being a person that you've never sang in a church before, you've never sang in public before, and now you are joining a worship team at a church?
For a while, after Jacob joined the choir, I was getting a lot of encouragement to join the choir, even though nobody had ever heard me sing. I think maybe Jacob shared something sometimes or something, I don't know. But it was a lot of people trying to encourage me to be a part of ministry, and specifically the music ministry. So when I was asked, because someone asked me if I would like to join the choir, it was a big no for a while, because I didn't want to be up in front of everyone. It was a lot of, to me, a lot of responsibility and a lot of attention of being up there that I didn't want. So it took a little while, and I think maybe coming to the practices and seeing it could be fun, and you would feel blessed after, even if you're just practicing. It kind of gave me the push to join the choir.
So what made you finally take that step and say, you know what, I'm going to do this? Was it a divine calling? Was it just something in your heart? I mean, what made you say, you know what, I'm ready to do this now?
I think it was someone asking me to help, and me feeling inside that I couldn't say no, because it was what the Lord wanted me to do. I feel like God wanted me to be in that place. And when I felt like it was from God, then it was a yes. I wanted to be obedient to what God wanted me to do.
I think that's also important, because a lot of times there's people in your church that they want to do something for God, and they're just waiting for somebody to ask them. And I'm thankful that somebody asked you. Do you remember who asked you?
It was you. It was you.
So
yeah.
that means that was the Lord, because I don't remember.
It wasn't to sing, it was to play the guitar.
Okay.
And so I started playing the guitar first, and then slowly we started bringing the microphone in. I think somebody needed help singing another girl voice. So I was like, okay, I'll do my best, because I've never thought of myself to be a good singer or a decent singer in any way. I just like music, and so it was a big step. But I was, like I said, I was trying to be obedient to what I think God was trying to get me to do.
Wonderful. Now your family revolves around Jesus and around music. I mean, your family is really Christocentric, all that y'all do. revolves around, you know, your relationship with the Lord, you, your husband, your children. But also music is a really big component of your family. And, you know, sometimes like I picture y'all's home like a musical, because I'm like, okay, we got you, Jacob, you know, Eve and Junior, like y'all must walk around singing, little birds come onto your shoulder and start singing with y'all, you know. But what role does music play at home as a family? Or is it, you know, I mean, maybe there are some worship leaders that they just come to church and they turn it on and they sing and then they turn it off and go home. It doesn't seem like that with y'all. I picture y'all.
So a big part of the music at home is my son, because he plays a couple of different instruments. So he'll play the flute, he'll play the piano. I play the guitar at home. Eve, my daughter, is learning the piano, so she plays. And my husband, he listens to a lot of music, so he'll walk around with headphones. I mean, at random times we're singing. You can hear the piano playing. If I hear the piano playing, I'll go and sit next to Junior and say, play this song, play this key, and we'll sing together. At home, it's not so much, but it does, you know, we do sing and stuff around the house.
Well, I'm still going to picture y'all as the Christian high school musical and Glee.
I think maybe to other people, if they lived with us, they would probably say there's a lot of music going on, but for us, it doesn't seem that much.
One of the things that I enjoy that you bring to our worship team is you bring depth to the worship. You're not just singing songs because they're catchy, but you're the kind of person that you really like to bring a song that will be moving, will be farther reaching in its impact than just selecting a song to sing on Sunday.
I want other people to experience what I'm experiencing. I want them to feel the presence of God the way I do through the music. So I feel like if I'm up here, I have to be not only a good example, but I am really deep in worship at that moment. It's sometimes where, you know, you'll see me turn my back because it's so intense for me, and I don't want people to feel like I'm putting on a show or anything. So, you know, I'll turn and I'll start worshiping towards the wall with my eyes closed, because worship is a really deep, important thing to me in my life. More than just the music part, but worship in itself.
Wonderful. Which musical artists are there out there that you're like, wow, I really like the way that they worship the Lord? Or are you just finding things on your own? I mean, do you have musical influences in your life from?
I do like Carrie Job. I like the way she sings. I like her voice. Some of the songs that she sings are some of my favorite songs. One of the first songs that I ever listened to was The More I Seek You. And I think a lot of people sing that song, but she was the first artist that I heard sing it, and Jesus, Lover of My Soul. Those were my two top songs when I first started coming to church. So I kind of draw that way. And my very favorite song is called What Love Is This? And it's been my favorite song I can't change that song. Like, I try to look for a new favorite song and I can't. But Carrie Job also sings that song. So I'm kind of drawn to her music because it moves me.
And what would it mean to you if Carrie Job sang your song that you're going to sing right now?
That would be amazing. That would be so amazing. I would really enjoy that. I think it would be awesome.
Do you get nervous when you sing at church? I mean, you've done it so much. I mean, we have service Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and you're usually singing in each one of those services.
If I'm leading the song, then I'm nervous. If someone else is leading the song, I can kind of just be myself, I think, because I'm more in the background. But when all eyes are on the singer, I do get a little bit nervous. But, the Holy Ghost takes over after a little while. Start praying, God, I'm nervous, help me. And, the Spirit of God takes over, and then I become free in worship.
That's great, because I was going to ask you, how do you overcome that nervousness? And I think you just answered that.
Yeah, that's all together, though. The whole being in the worship team, that's all the Spirit of God, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it on my own. I couldn't step up there and say anything or look at anyone. And, sometimes you'll see me closing my eyes because, there's times I get nervous, but sometimes it's just, I'm deep in worship. I want to picture God. But yeah, that's the Holy Ghost the whole time, to get me as far as I've come. That's a lot of help from the Lord.
Your mom comes to our church on occasion, and your sisters, when they see you up there, what do they tell you? Have they made comments or something like?
Yeah, they tell me they like the way I sing, or they'll say, you did a great job. I don't know if it's, I do get a little bit more nervous when my sisters are here or my mom or somebody that I recognize. So Jacob gets nervous when there's people he don't recognize, new people, and I'm the opposite. If I see my family here, it's just a little bit more intimidating, I guess, because I don't know. I guess I want to do a good job for them because I want them to feel what I feel in worship. But yeah, they compliment me. They're sweet.
Were they surprised to see you doing this, or were they like, oh, that figures, we expected you to do something like that?
I think my whole entire relationship and walk with God surprises my family. I think just coming to church, and that was just a big thing, because after a while it was not just Deanna's going to church. It's she's walking with the Lord. But they encourage me. They've never said anything like negative towards me about any of it. So
maybe you can share something with the choir leader. Maybe it's even a pastor's wife that's the choir leader at a smaller church, and because you are a worship leader, our Sunday school director, our VBS organizer, arranger, teacher, you clean the church, I'm sure there's other things I'm forgetting on the list here. So you have, and mom to, a teenager and an elementary age kid, and you still come to church, positive and ready to lead us in worship in amazing ways. How do you do it all?
Again,
I got tired just saying what you do.
I think it's the Lord. I think he just, I don't remember the point where I realized that I can't do anything without him. So a lot of times where I feel maybe I'm overwhelmed or I'm just too tired, God has always lifted me up. He's always picked me up and helped me do whatever it is that I need to do. And he strengthens me, and he gives me everything I need to keep going. And that's how I know that that's what the Lord wants me to do, because he equips me to be able to do it.
Where do you see the Lord taking you in the future, ministry-wise? Where is the Lord speaking to you, and the giftings he's given you, the talents? Not just that, the desires he's putting in your heart. Where do you see yourself ministry-wise going forward?
The desire is to go to different countries and use music and teaching to bless children in other parts of the world. That's a big desire, and I know it's like a really big dream. But I've always seen myself in Africa with little kids, doing children's revivals, doing both the teaching and the music, and doing it with my family. We're kind of really far away from that, but I believe the Lord can do that.
Well, you were really far from being a worship leader when you got here too, and the Lord did that. Now, along with being a singer and a guitarist and worship leader, the Lord has also made you a songwriter. Tell us how that came about.
Ever since I was little, I've always liked to write. I call myself a writer because I know that I can express myself very well in writing. As I started getting older, it would become a really deep thing for me. And when I was in the world, it was a really dark thing for me. So I would write really dark things, and I had saved some of my things for years and years. And when I look back at some of the stuff I wrote, I couldn't believe I had written that because I was in a dark place. But I started adding music in my head while I was writing, and I would start humming, and songs started to come together. So it started with poetry, and now that we're in music ministry, it's so much easier for it to come together, the music and the poetry. So when I'm writing a song, it's like a poem with music to it.
You had shared poems and writings with me that you had written before you wrote your song, and maybe even before you were in the worship team. You, your brother-in-law Matthew, we have people in our church that enjoy expressing themselves through writing, through poetry. And to think that if you hadn't heeded God's call to join the worship team, to sing and to take up again, or to take up for first time guitar and getting music in your soul, we might not have this song. I mean, it was like you saying yes to God and then God giving you another gift. Let's talk about the song that you have. So it's called Hear O Israel.
Yes.
Why did you pick that name for that song?
It's one of my favorite Bible verses.
Which is what verse?
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. I think that one of the most important things that we need to have in our walk with God is to know who He is. Because everything else comes after that. The worship, know who you're worshiping. The prayer, know who you're praying to. And it's such a powerful thing to me every time I hear that God is one, because He is so amazing and He can do anything. So when I read that verse, it like empowers me, like the Spirit leaps inside of me, because it's just a reminder of He's one God.
The first time I heard your song, I was like, yes. Because we don't have a lot of apostolic songs that are apostolic. They're apostolic songwriters that write a song for Caleb or for something like that. But you seem to have written a song because you wanted to make a declaration of who God is and us to sing that. And even like to sing it with authority, because it is a song that's, to me, rather bold, because it's about our God.
A lot of songs that, like I said, I listen to a lot of music, and I just didn't hear a song that sounded like a apostolic song, a oneness song. I'm sure there's a few that we have sung, but for the most part, a lot of the songs don't talk about God being one God. So I wanted to write a song that, like you said, it declares that God is one, who we believe in, because it's important for people to know who God is.
Take me through the songwriting process. I've never written a song. I've done writing, but never a song. How did you come up with the song? How did you get the idea or the inspiration to write this song?
Writing the songs is always different every single time. Sometimes, like I'm reading my Bible, sometimes songs come from that. I get the verse and I just start singing it, and it becomes a song, and I'll get something in my head and I'll just start writing it down. And as I start writing maybe the chorus verse, and then the verses will start coming. Sometimes I even go as far as looking in my concordance. I have the big giant concordance, looking for words, because sometimes it's hard to find the words that I'm trying to say. And it's really, I think it's really cool how I can find what I'm writing, go back to it in the Bible, and it helps me to also want to sing it. I want to sing this song because it's truth. There's truth in it. So most of the time the songs start just a chorus, and then go into the verses, maybe add a bridge in there, but it all starts in my head, and I'll eventually write it down.
I think for me, the hardest part of writing a song obviously, would be the music part. Like, I could probably write a song lyrically, but I don't think I could ever put music to it unless it was a humming tune and I had you and your son to put that into music. But how did you come up with the tune for the words that you were writing? Or did you get the tune before you had the lyrics?
No, I wrote it first. The music, I hear the song in my head, and then I go to the piano or to the guitar and I find the chord that I'm singing for the most part. Like, what chord is that? I don't know what chord that is. And then I'll start putting the music to it because I'm not really good with the different chords and everything, like music theory, like my son is. But if I can hear it, then I can find it on the piano and then we'll put the chords together. And also those specific chords for that song are kind of like power chords, I guess you would call them. Like they get you going. So I wanted that kind of sound for that specific song.
What does singing or worship in general do to you? Not just when you're singing on the platform, but just when you're singing to God.
It takes me to a different place. It's one of aside from praying, it's the most intimate things I do with the Lord. It's so personal to me. I've had like major breakthroughs. I feel really free in the Lord, in the Spirit. I feel empowered as I'm singing, worshiping. It's always been a really deep connection with God for me, the worship.
What is the important thing for you to be able to worship the Lord?
I'm giving myself to God when I'm worshiping. I want Him to always know that how important He is to me and everything that He's done for me. I want to show Him how thankful I am. And that's a big way, the avenue that God has given me through the writing and the singing, to connect to Him, to show Him that I love God. I love Him, and I want Him to know that.
I think you sum it up right there because you said it's the way that you get to love God. And it's so important for us to love Jesus, but many people ask me as pastor, tell me as pastor, like, how do I love God? Like, I don't know how to love God. And you have seemed to find a way to express your love to your Creator and your Savior through worship and through singing. Everything you do here when we're at church, when it comes to the platform, it always seems very personal. Am I reading you correctly? Like, it seems like
it's very personal. Everything that I'm doing, because I feel like God is always with me. I feel like He's so close to me. Everything that I'm doing, I want to please God. I want to bless the Lord. Is that?
Well, it's biblical. Bless the Lord, all my soul, and all that is within me.
I think that's what I always want to do in everything that I do. So when it comes to other people, I have a connection there. There's connection. I want people to be blessed. I want them to be in the presence of God. I care very much about people, but at the end, it's just me and God. It's just our relationship, and everything that I'm doing, I want to please Him and be closer to Him every day.
If there's somebody watching right now and they're a young person and they're thinking to themselves, I wish I could be in the choir and sing, but I know I'm never going to be brave enough to do that. I'm just too shy. I'm never going to be able to do that. What words of encouragement would you have for that young person?
You can do it. If you knew me before all of this, before I came to church, you would be completely shocked that I could be up there and do what God allows me to do. So trust in God. If you have something in your heart that you want to do, ask God to help you to do it, and He's going to help you. Trust that He's going to help you, because He wants us to do what He has called us to do. And fear will hold us back, and the enemy will try to keep us from doing anything that God wants us to do. So pray and ask God to help you, and to know that it's from the Lord, and He's going to help you every step of the way. He's going to be right there with you, like He does for me, to encourage me, to lift me up when I'm down, and to strengthen me to do everything that He's wanting me to do.
So now everyone gets to hear the world premiere social media broadcast. First time many people are hearing this one God, Jesus glorifying song that He has given you, called Hear O Israel. And so I'm excited for the world to hear this. Like, God gave you this song for a purpose. What is the purpose of this song for every person that's going to hear this today?
For you to remember that God is one, that He is the one true God, the creator of heaven and earth, still alive, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Jesus Christ is God.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear it. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you next time. In Jesus' name.